What's up, guys? I wanted to make this quick video to talk about a biblical figure, one that's very well known. The title's probably gonna be something like what we can learn from King David, or what we can learn about the relationship King David had with God. I wanted to make this video because, I was reading some Psalms, and something that's very eye-opening to me is how relatable everything is. How extremely human King David is, basically. In King David we see someone that's very much imperfect, which is a pattern we see, right? God tends to use people that are imperfect. King David is infamous for committing adultery. Prophet Moses is a different example for this, who was a murderer before he led the people to the promised land. So basically, who was King David first and foremost? King David was the second king of Israel, and he started life as a shepherd's boy. He lived around 1000 before Christ, and he was picked by God to become the king. I wanted to talk today about what made King David's relationship with God so special. Yeah, basically what we can learn from that and how we can implement that in our prayer life. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk about the honesty and the raw relationship that King David displays in his Psalms. If we read Psalms, there's some beautiful, very motivating Psalms. One that's very famous is Psalms 23, of course. I walk through the valley of shadow, that I shall fear no evil. These things are very motivating for us in our human lives. But the thing that is interesting for me is how David also allows himself to, well, quote unquote, be mad at God, or express and voice his anger, his sadness, his depression. There's lots of Psalms where he's repenting, where he's crying for forgiveness after his sin with Bathsheba, for example. And basically, I feel like the lesson we can take out of this is, we kind of want to have a relationship with God in that same way, where we literally tell God everything. Something I sometimes feel or felt was that if I pray for something, a lot of times, say I want to attract a certain relationship in my life whatsoever, I thought to myself that if I prayed for it a couple of times a day, then that would be a sign of a lack of faith. You know what I mean? Like, praying for it once and trusting God to fulfill that would be true faith. And I always kind of felt that barrier or limit, or this kind of awkwardness, and it would keep me from praying for certain things multiple times. Something I've learned from the Psalms is that there's no such thing as a limit. I feel like the beautiful thing in David's relationship with God is his open communication. He kind of displays the whole spectrum of human emotions, and that's something very admirable, I feel like. Also, if you think about it logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep certain things from God, right? If you believe that God is this almighty deity, this all-knowing deity, then why would you keep something from him? Like, it doesn't really work. I feel like what the Psalms and King David teaches us is that it's good to include God in literally everything you're going through. That's what God wants. He wants to help you. He wants you to have that open communication with him, I feel like for a lot of people, prayer is kind of like a last resort. They try to solve things through other methods. They try to do it themselves. But King David really teaches that it's just a lifestyle, kind of. It's a way of life, praying for everything, including God in everything. While going through tough times, going through beautiful times, It's really when you team up with God, essentially, that's when you're gonna have the most harmonious life. So I feel like the key takeaway from this video would be, depend on God in every situation. Go to God in every situation. Do not have it as your last resort, as this lucky charm almost. you know, that's not what it's about. Try to look at your own life. How's your own personal relationship with God? How many times are you worried before having prayed, you know? Something my mom always tells me, or used to tell me, like, when I was worried, when I was anxious or depressed for whatever reason, first thing she would ask me is, well, did you pray about it? And, you know, that's something I'll never forget, and that's something we should all include.